Hello everyone, watch this review here where they look at Superboy-Prime from DC Universe Classics All-Stars, I guess wave 1 of the revamp slash relaunch of the line. By the way, next year they're switching the line's name to DC Unlimited supposedly. I'm wondering how different the packaging will be and all that. Yeah. Also, there have been a few, I guess, complaints about the quality of lighting in some of my previous videos, so I noticed that my kitchen actually has some pretty cool fluorescent bulbs, so I figured I'd try shooting a video in these conditions, see how well that goes. Maybe just do that going forward, although it looks really cheap having a door here, and it's either this or the fridge. So that's the one drawback for this if I do decide to go ahead. Now, for those of you not familiar with Superboy-Prime, you know he exists on Earth Prime because inevitably in any comic book with alternate universes there will always be an alternate universe where, you know, everything is just a comic, and Earth Prime is that example. And thus, Superboy-Prime is the only individual on real Earth with any powers, and yeah, he's one crazy dude. I mean, generally, too, whenever you have the sort of meta universe where everything kind of exists, you know, the craziest, most outlandish stuff will always go down, such as Superboy Prime, who can punch holes through reality and crap like that. Yeah. At any rate, it's kind of interesting that we have this Go to Maddie Collector endorsement right here, especially considering that everything has been shifted online. It's sort of an essential. I mean, previous waves is mostly going to retail, and Maddie was supplementing. Now Maddie's largely replaced it, so it does make sense. Other figures from this wave are basically the new 52 stuff, Superman, Batman, and Red Robin. Honestly, out of this whole wave, the only one I cared about was Superboy Prime. Might go back and pick up the others at some point. I do not know. Basically, when they took out Collected Connects, sort of removed a lot of the incentive to just buy whole waves. Now I'm just more pick and choose, but I'll hold on a second and we'll get this guy a pack. Okay, so that was kind of a bust, I guess. For whatever reason, the lighting there sort of has more yellowish hue, so not workable. Here's a quick look at the packaging under the standard lighting, just to give you some idea, and hold on a second, and this time I'll really take him out box. And here we have Superboy Prime, who, I don't know, it looks pretty decent. Yeah, I mean, granted, it is a really cool looking character design and everything, so they did have some advantages here when they're just working with the general design and sculpt and everything. If you look at the cape, it's got little ornamental tears and stuff. It also has a little bit of shadowing. The one sort of issue, though, is if you look at the tips and stuff, I don't know, it just seems like the plastic is sort of too flat, doesn't look as realistically ripped as it might otherwise. Now, a few people have complained about the face. They've mentioned that the expression, I guess, just doesn't seem mean enough for the character. Well, I think that the head sculpt is pretty cool and everything. My issue is more that the details just seems a little too soft. Like, it just doesn't use enough hard lines. I don't know if that lacks a paint app or something, but it just something about it like seems missing from just a detail angle, especially when compared to his sort of upper body here, where you see all the tendons and stuff in his neck and some of the upper torso muscles. Now, he makes use of the same sort of slender body mold that we've seen many times in the past, such as with the Riddler from the Bane wave. If you put the two figures side by side, you can definitely see some comparisons or some parallels, especially with the torso here. And then, of course, they just added on the additional parts for the power armor. And that brings us into another quick comparison. Now, Superboy Prime's power outfit is based on the anti-monitors, so you have to sort of bring in the anti-monitor for a comparison. Just can't get around that one. So I mean, that's kind of neat. By the way, the armor allows him to store sunlight, so he won't be affected by red sunlight or times when he's without sunlight. Allows him to keep his powers longer, as well as amplifying them, I think. For another comparison, let's just bring in a standard-looking Superman. He actually looks a bit taller than that, which is kind of weird considering we're calling him Superboy. The character looks young and everything, and yet, the height just seems a little bit off. I think it's because he has more sculpted boots and stuff here, which sort of gives him another few inches, despite, again, mostly looking like the same mold that Riddler has here. Yeah, it definitely looks like the same one, especially around the torso, but just given the difference in height and things, it's kind of hard to tell at times. In terms of articulation, right out of the box, pretty smooth movement. Sometimes the figures are stiff for whatever reason, but the joints seem to work properly, which is always cool. But he has a point of rotation at the wrist, single joint at the elbow. Really wish that he'd have a double, but whatever. He has a point of rotation at the shoulder, but it's be kind of impeded by the cables running along his back here. The arms will not go up a ton just because he's got these tremendous shoulder pads. They are a softer rubbery plastic, so you can sort of force it through, but I'm just worried that something will break. Head is on a physical ball. As always, they really can't look up, which is kind of a downer considering that they're flying characters, and they would sort of look forward while they're flying. But because of the physical ball, they can sort of head tilt, which is always cool. He has an ab crunch, which I can't seem to get much motion from. Waist rotation, then the sort of standard leg joint here. Oh, fun fact, by the way, when Mattel was asked what they internally call this, or what they call it within the departments and stuff, apparently they just call the joint a ball joint. So, meanwhile, we're coming up with fancy names and stuff for it, and I guess they just go with the basics, but same usual motion, which is an incredibly redundant thing to say. I know that. I felt stupid right after saying it. And then rotation right above the knee. Again, you have to worry about the cables. Single pin at the knee. And then we have a point down here at the ankle. Again, just a pin. This is some paint bleed or whatever. Yeah. All in all, definitely the one figure to pick up this wave. It's cool that we're finally getting a Superboy-Prime, given that he's a pretty significant character. I mean, he's killed quite a few superheroes. In addition to starting off as a superhero, going villain, and then getting all sorts of hijinks. So, yeah. There really isn't much more to say than that. I guess I could point out the fact that, some portions of the costume are sort of glossy and they have like glitter or something in them, such as on the gauntlets and the cables and stuff. But I mean, even when you're looking at the body, it looks kind of like the same sort of effect was applied to portions of it. But I mean, obviously it's not as strong. Other than that, it's just standard DC Universe Classic stuff. Yeah, I'm going to end with that. So yeah, this has been a look at Superboy-Prime. Cool figure, but again, standard reuse of parts. Clever reuse of parts, mind you, because he has additional elements and stuff to disguise the fact that, it is just a reused buck and stuff. But, till next time, folks.